The troops before departure to Europe in the First World War. No one could foresee the tragic consequences for Europe of the assassination of the heir of the throne of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo, still one of today's trouble spots. Bosnia wanted independence, and the military consequence meant Germany sided with Austria. Russia and France sided with Bosnia. Britain entered to save Belgium from being overrun. Unique in Europe, the British Army were volunteers. Lord Kitchener, Minister for War, recruited volunteers with the King's shilling. One carrot was that workmates and friends could fight together, and the war would be a short one. The tragedy was friends, families, and workmates would also die together, as they did in their thousands. Families would lose all their sons, groups of workmates would all perish. Probably 1 in 5 of these men would not return. We now take a look at the experiences of 2 Merseyside men.
During the army, or the territorial army, in 1940 in April, and we had to go to the barracks to have training how to ride horses and to became efficient. On the 4th of August, the war was declared, and we were mobilised as a battery and brigade and went into barracks as an army unit. Kitchener's army was formed a long time after the war started. It became Kitchener's regular units, became in Liverpool itself, they fought in their own units and in their own sections.
I went to join the army in 1915, but I could not join the fighting forces on account of being underage. But having the first-class St. John's certificate, I was taken into the RAMC, and within a month I was on my way to the Dardanelles. Later we were moved right across Italy and France to prepare for the Battle of the Somme on July the 6th. 1916. We were one of the first field ambulances to follow the troops in the trenches, and the sights were really horrific. My experience was really a lucky one in a way, but a sad one in other respects. I was at the tail end of a stretcher, and one of my compatriots was helping me carrying. We had a wounded soldier from the West Yorkshire Regiment on the stretcher. A shell burst on the trench head. It killed my compatriot and also the man on the stretcher. It buried me, and all that happened was, after being extricated, I found that I had lost the use of my right ear. On the night of the start of the Battle of Somme, it was made worse by the fact that we had a torrential shower just before we went in, and that didn't improve the conditions at all. In many a time we were nearly up to our knees in mud trying to carry stretchers with wounded infantry or artillery on the stretchers.
The Somme. After 4 months of battle, there was stalemate and slaughter. Britain, 420,000 casualties, France, 200,000, Germany, 450,000.
After 20 months in Egypt and France, I came home on leave, and it was suggested to me and recommended that I apply for a commission, which I did And I think I am one of the few persons that was discharged from the RAMC on one day and gazetted into the King's Liverpool Regiment the next day. From there, of course, I went to France, seconded to the 9th King's Liverpool Territorials, and from then on we saw quite a lot of action.
1917, Ypres, 500,000 dead and wounded, 300,000 British, 200,000 Germans.
Well, we were held at Ypres for a while, and then the army on both right and left of us were waiting for a breakthrough to do away with the salient which we were in. And eventually we did clear the salient, and we had the Germans in the same position afterwards as what we were in the beginning. But the casualties were so great, and the devastation of the fire from the Germans, that there was hardly a place that was left. A big church there, St. Mary's, and the Cloth Hall, which was an international place, and all the other places around about were all brought down to rubble. I was riding along on a horse just outside Bouverie, and they started shelling, and I moved off for a while, and then I dismounted, and just then I heard this one coming over, and the horse stood on my foot, and I couldn't move an inch, and the thing landed about 20-30 yards away, and it didn't explode. It must have been a dud, otherwise it would have been bad news for me.
The night before armistice was declared, there was a bit of a fracas in Nil, and being attached to the APM staff, I was on duty, and 2 Irish officers were arrested. And it was my duty on Armistice Day to be their guard, and which happened for 2 or 3 days. And what a day that was. Everybody else celebrating, but poor Joe guarding 2 unfortunate Irish officers.
Remembrance Day, 1985. Our veterans were there to remember their fallen friends and colleagues. The result of war, 1 million British dead and wounded, probably 1 in 5 young men of the population of the day. France, 1.5 million, Germany, 1.25 million, Russia, 3.25 million. Many women would be destined to remain widows or remain single. No wonder each year in November, the fallen are still remembered. Passing New Brighton Tower, 2 other veterans of the war enter the Mersey. Wallasey ferry boats, Iris and Daffodil, provided vital aid in the blockade of the port of Zeebrugge to contain the German U-boat fleet within port. As a result, Iris and Daffodil became Royal Irish and Royal Daffodil.